We are going to be talking about the very best diet to detox from parasites. Welcome to 2024. If you follow what we share on this Live Disease Free channel, it's going to be life changing for you. The diet that we follow is the Live Disease Free diet, and it's a very special diet because it's the best diet to help you prepare before you start treating parasites and while you're treating parasites that cause a parasitic or that cause chronic diseases. So, parasitic infestations that cause chronic diseases. And if we haven't met, my name is Pam Bartha. I am the author of Become a Wellness Champion, and I'm the founder of Live Disease Free. And I'm really honored to share this topic with you because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis over 35 years ago. And by the grace of God, I learned early on that the disease I was dealing with wasn't a mystery. It was caused by a parasitic infestation. And over the years, we've learned a lot. We've worked with thousands of people all over the world. Thousands of people have used the Live Disease Free diet. Some people we've worked with, hundreds and hundreds we've worked with, but also many people that we haven't worked with. Our Live Disease Free diet guidelines are free on the web, on our website. You can take them, you can implement them, you can start feeling better. We're going to talk about the guidelines, where I'm going to give lots of different meal ideas and different, like what we eat on the Live Disease Free diet. But I'm also going to share with you amazing successes that we can experience in as little as 2 weeks when we're following the diet. If we haven't met, my name is Pam Bartha. I'm the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. And in my recovery and in helping many other hundreds of people recover from chronic diseases caused by parasitic infestations around the world, we've come to find that diet is really, really important. And we've developed a diet called the Live Disease Free diet. And this diet, it really helps us to make the parasites less active. And when they're less active, they produce less poisons. Our immune system is not working as hard. We notice a lot of reduction in inflammation, and inflammation is always present in chronic disease. And inflammation is our immune system's response to the parasites. So parasites are less active. When we follow the Live Disease Free diet, we have less inflammation. We have significant symptom improvements. And some of the symptom improvements that our students have reported to us are things like more energy. So first of all, their bladder function improves tremendously. So their bladder function improves, they're sleeping more through the night, they have more energy, they have more mental clarity, they're also less anxious and less depressed. So their mood improves a lot. Spasticity can improve a lot. Pain can decrease tremendously. Numbness can start to subside. And then tingling also. Strength starts to come back in arms or legs. Double vision. We've had a number of students that had diplopia, and that has improved just with diet alone. Their digestive tract, their digestion obviously improves, dealing with the constipation and the diarrhea. Heat intolerance. And also, I'm going to share one of the successes of our students right now in the program, not having the day sweats and the night sweats as much either. And then also migraines subsiding. So what I'd like to do is just share a few successes from our amazing students that are right now, we call them the Wellness Champions. They're following the Live Disease Free plan. They're following the Live Disease Free diet is the first step in the Live Disease Free plan. And you can hear what they are experiencing just by lowering their carbs. I'm going to go through all the guidelines so you understand what we can eat, what we should avoid, but also different meal ideas in a few minutes. So I'm going to keep these names anonymous because these are students that are in the program as we speak. So one shared, I started the Live Disease Free diet, and since I've started, the stiffness and tingling in my hands and feet have gone away. But she also still needs to have enough rest. But before, they weren't going away. But now, with some rest during the day and following the diet, her tingling in her hands and her feet have gone away. Also, she had hot flashes, and those have improved a lot since she's changed her diet. And the key to the Live Disease Free diet is really decreasing the carbs because that's the favorite food for the parasites. So she says, I only overheat and sweat occasionally now, not as often as I did before. Also, the constant tremors that I felt all the time, they have improved also. So this is tremors improving and tingling improving, hot flashes improving, uh, and stiffness, all with changing diet. Honestly, that's more than what the MS drugs are able to do for us. The next student, not recovering from MS, but this is a student who did not have a diagnosis yet. He had a lot of scary symptoms, um, brain symptoms, all kinds of symptoms throughout his body, his face, etc. And he shared just in the getting ready in the diet phase, pardon me, on Friday, I felt so good all day. My energy and strength continue to improve. My sleep continues to improve. I still get up at night, but not as often. So, a lot of our students have bladder urgency. And so, he found that he does not have to get up as frequently during the night. That's one of the first things that our students will notice when they lower their carbs. And that is not something that I'm used to. I know that I'm really hitting this in the right spot with this diet, and I feel inspired to continue to tweak it so that I'm giving myself optimal results. Since I started this diet, I'm really much more aware of what is happening in my body, and I believe I have several larger parasites. I just can't get over how relaxed I feel today. So, this was when he was just following the Live Disease Free diet, and he had just started to do these oxidizing enemas. So, he did pass a couple of parasites. So, just with diet and passing a couple of parasites, which is literally scratching the surface, he already was noticing that he was much more relaxed. The sensation in his face was gone, more energy and strength coming back, sleeping better. And this was a few weeks ago. Since then, now he's doing much, much better. He actually just finished his first treatment cycle, but I wanted to share where he was at when he was just basically following the diet. If you guys have questions about the Live Disease Free diet, make sure you type your questions in the question box and I will come to them in a few minutes. So he said, it's weird when you only now realize what was affecting your body and why. And he said, I continue to have improvements in my physical health. The next student shared, on Wednesday, I went to my regular weekly visit to my pain specialist, holistic neurologist, and she confirmed how great I looked and was excited that I did so well with the previous busy days that she had. So she had some really busy days, and usually that would wipe her out. She said, my walk was quite balanced. My face was even. My blood pressure was good, and I felt really good. Again, she's just getting ready to treat. So this is part of the detox diet, really detoxing our body, stop feeding the parasites so much food, really starting to support our immune system, support immune modulation. The next student, another anonymous, this past week I've noticed more strength in my legs as I am able to sit to stand activities with much more ease and longer endurance, which is great. I am also gaining more flexibility in my left foot, which I have not had in quite some time. So increased flexibility, again, more strength in her legs, better able to do different exercises, and getting more flexibility in her left foot with just diet, the Live Disease Free diet. Another person, I've noticed some symptom improvements in my stability, so more stable, less muscle spasticity, and better mental health. Also, I'm having regular bowel movements and I'm sleeping 7 to 8 hours per night each night. I have renewed my gym membership for this year, which makes me so happy. So he has not started treating either. These are all students that are just getting ready to treat by following the diet and supporting the body. The next student, I'm following the diet, the Live Disease Free diet. I'm having regular bowel movements. I am sleeping better when I'm eating this way, and my body feels stronger on the Live Disease Free low carb diet. So these are just small reports that we get every week, and some of our students that are treating, they have bigger reports of improvement in mobility. But I wanted to just focus on the diet today because we're starting a new year. This is a new start for us. This is an opportunity for us to, kind of wipe the slate clean and start to plan for this year. What is it that you want to accomplish this year? What is your intention? Write it out. What is your why? Why do you have to succeed? What is your life going to look like? What is it going to feel like when you're starting to do those things again that you haven't done for years? For many of us, it's been years that we haven't done them. And I want you to just dive into the emotions of that and the feelings of that, because that's the motivation. That's what's going to help you get past cravings, the cravings that we would get from, like the parasites make us crave the sugars and the carbs, etc. So if you went through the holidays and you kind of messed up and you had some sugar and you felt horrible, this is time for us to have a fresh new start. And with that, it's literally following a really simple diet. The Live Disease Free diet, I hate to call it a diet because it's really a way of living. It's a lifestyle because it helps you to recover more quickly. It helps you to tolerate the parasite drugs better and the parasite treatments better, whether it's herbs or oxidizing agents or the parasite drugs. It also helps us to, it's anti aging. It helps us to feel healthier and stronger and have more energy. And we don't have the ups and the downs because we're keeping our blood sugar level steady. We're not having those peaks and valleys, etc. We're not running on caffeine. We don't need caffeine. We don't have the slumps. We have constant energy. So this is how, in my 60s, I have 7 grandchildren. I have a horse now. We have chickens. We're just getting some sheep. I love the outdoors. So it's like I work lots. I help lots of people from all over the world, hundreds of people. We have a team, a Live Disease Free team. And I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So you can have whatever life you want also, but number one, you have to want it bad. So you have to really have a clear intention and a why and why you have to succeed. Then you have to have the right plan. And this Live Disease Free diet and the plan, it's proven. There are many people that have recovered from supposedly incurable diseases by treating the parasitic infestations. And in order to treat these parasites well, like if you haven't followed my work, make sure to look at our blog post. You'll see some of these roundworms, some of the intestinal flukes, tapeworms, etc., that our students are passing. The research that I've shown where Dr. Alan McDonald has found tapeworms, the larvae in the central nervous system of MS patients, developing tapeworms in the central nervous system of MS patients, also small roundworms in the central nervous system of MS patients. There's also been different fungi found. He's even found Lyme spirochetes, the bacteria that causes Lyme disease, in the myelin of nerve cells in Alzheimer's patients. So if they're in Alzheimer's and we do test positive for Lyme, they can be in our myelin also. So we know that the central nervous system is not a sterile environment. We know that different infections get in, and I've shared different blog posts. Make sure to check out our articles that we write. We call them blog posts. It's easy. You can skim my notes there. You can go to different links if you want to research further. You can watch shortened videos. But what's really important is that they also have found that it's not just what's in the central nervous system, the parasites there, but it's a lot what's in our gut. And we've seen this in our students. So in one of them that I shared here, when he's doing these oxidizing enemas, he's noticing huge improvements in his brain, like immediately, like within just after doing these enemas. So there's this highway of nerves between our intestines and our brain. And when there are a lot of parasites in our gut, that can really cause a lot of neurological symptoms that we might think are only caused by parasites in the brain or in the spinal fluid, but it's not necessarily the case. It can be just what's in the gut. We do know that lesions are pockets of inflammation, and we know that different parasites cause inflammation. That's where our immune system is fighting the parasites. And we don't want these lesions in our central nervous system. But it's not as simple as just taking a pill and curing these parasitic infestations. If we could do that, I promise you I would share that. So what we do is we follow the diet. The Live Disease-Free diet is the first step. We have to treat them, but we have to get ready to treat. And the first step in getting ready to treat is the Live Disease-Free diet. So again, it's very tasty, it's very simple, it's very nutritious. It gives us a lot of nutrition, but it also provides fiber so that we're encouraging the growth of the good microbes to come back and to become our natural defense again. And it's proven. It's proven. So the reason that we first went low carb is I studied a lot of different, I call them hero doctors, that were helping people with cancer, recovering from cancer and recovering from autism and diabetes and inflammatory bowel and all kinds of different conditions. And they all had one common denominator, and that was low carb was really, really helpful. So yes, we started with more of a candida diet maybe 10 years ago, gluten-free, dairy-free, all of that. But we then have moved towards this low carb, and then we've kind of found a sweet spot between 30 to 40 total grams of carbs per day. And that's incredibly helpful to have all of these symptom improvements, which I shared with you what our students are having. So again, this is a proven plan. It has helped thousands of people all over the world. And I just wanted to share the guidelines with you so that you understand how to follow this diet. Again, the whole rationale is to make the parasites less active, making it easier to treat them, and we tolerate the treatments better. So it's lower carb. The Live Disease-Free diet is lower carb than the paleo diet, but it is higher carb than the keto diet. And we don't have dairy products other than butter. You can do ghee, but butter is also acceptable. So there is a cheat sheet that we have on our website, on the Live Disease-Free website. And you'll notice that this cheat sheet, I'm just going to pull it up here for a minute. It is a really nice, concise guide that can really help you you can print it off and put it in your kitchen. That would be a good idea to do. But it just kind of helps you to stay focused on what's really important. So when we start, a lot of us are very sick and we eat like a sparrow. We don't have an appetite. We might feel nauseous, and that's from the toxins that these microbes are producing. So we want to work up to 9 to 13 servings of vegetables per day. We want to really incorporate a lot of lower carbohydrate vegetables, so a lot of the leafy greens. If you don't tolerate certain vegetables, if you don't tolerate raw vegetables or salads, please don't eat them. It's absolutely fine to cook your vegetables. But if you do tolerate them, try to incorporate different types of leafy greens throughout the day because they are the lowest in carbs. But you definitely can have other vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, bok choy, green and yellow string beans. There's a whole bunch of different vegetables that are listed on the cheat sheet. And so we are having, it works out to about 3 platefuls of low carb vegetables per day, moderate amounts of animal protein with each meal. So for a woman, that might be 3 to 4 ounces. For a man, it might be 4 to 5 ounces. If you eat a 10 ounce steak, so if you eat a 10-ounce steak, your body can convert a lot of that meat into glucose, which is sugar, and it'll make your blood sugar level go up. So don't eat huge amounts of meat, just moderate amounts of meat. Like for men, 3 to 4 to 5 ounces should be plenty. And as you are decreasing the calories from the carbohydrates, you are increasing the calories from fats. All right. So if you want to maintain your weight, let's say you're slim like me and you don't want to lose weight, then you have to eat enough calories per day so you don't lose weight. So again, as you decrease the calories from the carbs, you have to increase the calories from the fats. And that's how you can maintain your weight. So we can get calories from protein, from fats, and from carbohydrates. again, decrease the carbs, increase the fats, not increasing the protein. But we do want to have healthy fat, a good amount. It might be at least 4 tablespoons or more if you need it per meal. And we also want to have protein with each meal with our low carb vegetables. That really keeps our blood sugars steady and it helps us to feel energy. Like it helps us to have sustained energy, mental clarity, stability, endurance, etc. So it just makes us feel stronger. If we skip the protein, so this we're getting into vegans and vegetarians. So this diet does require eating some animal protein. It's mostly plant-based, but we do want to eat some animal protein because if you don't have any soy or you don't have any of the beans, the legumes, dried beans and legumes, etc., then you're not going to get complete protein. And unless you're like taking concentrated processed, protein from rice, which is not a complete protein. So it's just not a healthy way to be. You're not going to get all of the essential amino acids and you're not going to feel well. If you're a vegetarian, then our students that are vegetarian, they will have they will have eggs, they will have some fish, they may have some chicken, just enough to maintain their muscle mass. So we're eating enough animal protein to maintain our muscle mass. We're having enough healthy fat to maintain our weight, and we're having lots of low carb vegetables for the nutrition, for planting the food for our new microbiome that we want to build back, the good health promoting microbes. There is an app on our phone that's free and it's called the Chronometer app, CRO, Chronometer app. You can download it for free. And when you are tracking your grams of carbs, make sure you track the total grams of carbs, not the net grams of carbs. So total grams of carbs. And you want to, so you'll notice that they'll say, here's the net grams of carbs, but you want to include fiber, sugar, and carbohydrates and starches, everything all together. And when you're between 30 to 40, and if you're closer to 30, you will notice more symptom improvement. So try to get down to closer to 30. And I didn't think I could live without eating rice because I was always slim. Had lots of parasites. And then I did eat healthy after too, right? I wasn't eating a lot of carbs, but I still had carbs. But when I went off of the grains and I thought like, how am I going to live? I'm just going to blow away. But you'll find that you actually can switch and your body gets used to being more of a fat burner. And when it's burning more fat, you actually feel really good. There's endurance athletes that can run for longer distances when their body is more of a fat burner than a carb burner. So I have experienced this myself, and it's amazing how you can just, I'll talk about what I eat for meals, but and I can have some more carbs now, but I choose not to eat a lot of carbs because I just feel a lot better when I don't. And I have a very full life, and I'd much rather live my life than be run by foods that don't make me feel as good. So, the total grams of carbs, you want to check that out with the Chronometer app, which is a free app on your phone. And again, if you don't want to lose weight, you have to make sure that you're getting enough calories per day. So you can actually, like our students in the program, we have a formula where they're like, okay, I'm a male or female, certain age group, I need X number of calories. Divide that by 2 so you know how many calories you need that to come from fat at least. And then you can divide that by, I can't remember how many calories per tablespoon. So you know how many tablespoons of fat to have with your meal. And for the average woman, it might be at least 4 tablespoons of fat. So it can be melted butter on your vegetables or on your meat additional. It can be, we're going to talk about a homemade mayonnaise recipe, which is really nice. And you could make a spicy mayo that you dip your meat into. You can make a creamy Caesar salad dressing. You can just have a herb dip, a ranch herb dip that you would dip vegetables in, whether they're cooked or they're raw. Those are different ways to get extra fat, or just extra virgin olive oil on your salads. When you're done eating your salad, make sure to take your spoon and scoop up the lemon juice and olive oil because that's calories and it's expensive, right? Everything's expensive these days, so don't waste really good olive oil. And you want to get cold pressed, extra virgin organic oils that are not uh, denatured by overheating them, etc. So less than 50 total grams of carbs per day, but 30 to 40 is the best. And closer to 30, you will notice like it's life changing. It's that significant for people. For most people, there's a couple of reasons why it might not. If you have a lot of mold in your home, you still won't notice that much improvements. If you have a lot of wireless radiation around you, you may not notice. If you're not sleeping, but generally, if if our students are going through the checklist and they're, working on their sleep and they're having daily bowel movements, they're managing their stress, then they start to decrease the carbs, and it's life changing for them. And then they can start doing the enemas at any time too, and it's like so we don't have to wait till we start treating with parasite drugs when we're working with our practitioners. We can start feeling better literally within 1 to 2 weeks. And then if we do have inflammatory bowel disease, remember, please don't eat vegetables that don't agree with you. And if you have to cook your vegetables, it's absolutely fine. Eat the vegetables that agree with you, that we have on our shopping list, that we have on our cheat sheet. Avoid the ones that don't agree with you. When we have leaky gut, we can end up with all kinds of food sensitivities. So just make sure that you listen to your body and you know what your body can handle and what it can't. What you'll find is that as you follow, like eat the vegetables that agree with you and you cook them, you'll notice that the inflammation starts to go down. And then as you're treating, like the diarrhea definitely stops. And then your gut heals, and then you can eat raw vegetables again. But when you're ready, when you've corrected the microbiome enough, then you can do that. Things like carrots and avocados, beets, peppers, tomatoes, those are higher in carbs, higher in natural sugars. So we would have them as a garnish on a big salad. So just like a little sprinkling. We would not have a lot of avocado. We would not have a lot of carrots or peppers, etc., or tomatoes, just small amounts for flavor and color on our salad. And we want to have with respect to nuts and seeds, be really careful here too, because if we don't prepare and have enough food in the fridge, we can tend to kind of reach for a handful of nuts and eat them too regularly. And you'll find that if you eat nuts a lot, that you'll feel horrible because they are quite high in carbs and they're harder to digest. So really limit the nuts and seeds. I would avoid all nut butters because there's notorious for adding little small amounts of sugar into nut butters and sweeteners. So I would just skip anything where humans have had an opportunity to process, to add fillers, sugars, etc. And just if you're going to have nuts and seeds, just whatever is listed on the cheat sheet, and have maybe one very small serving, like an eighth of a cup, but be very careful. And if you're tolerating the nuts and seeds and you're improving tremendously and you're having 1 or 2 small servings per day, make sure that they are before supper time. Don't eat nuts before bed, because when you go to bed, your digestion slows down and then that becomes food for the parasite. So try to eat, at least 2 to 3 hours, closer to 3 hours before you go to bed. Eat enough so that you're still satisfied, so you're not hungry before you go to bed. But don't eat a lot before bed, because your digestion slows down and then you're providing more food for the parasites. And I don't know if any of you have woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's kind of like the witching hour. They're pretty active at night, the parasites are. And so we also want to avoid foods that we're sensitive to. There's a coca test that we share with our students. You can probably find it online. It's free. I'm sure that I found it online, where you're checking your resting heart rate. I mean, you can go to a naturopath or a different practitioner for sure that they can check for food sensitivities, but food sensitivities seem to change quite often. And so the coca test is just a simple way that you can check your resting heart rate. But honestly, if you just feel that every time you eat eggs you don't feel well, just avoid them. If there's a food that's kind of iffy and you think, oh, I think I might be sensitive to it, eat it every 4 to 5 days and it definitely won't bother you as much. So do rotation of foods. But just listen to your body, because if you are, I had one lady who had a lot of diarrhea, but she cooked her vegetables. But once she took out and omitted cooked kale, she no longer had diarrhea. So it was, maybe that was the last thing that had to be removed before it settled her down. But she had years and years of diarrhea before. And who would have thought cooked kale would do that to her? But it did. So this is a little bit of trial and error, but it's not that hard. So avoid foods that you're sensitive to. All right, so I just wanted to go to the first page of the cheat sheet. We avoid all sweeteners. So whether it's stevia, sometimes stevia can be laced with other sweeteners. You want to get rid of your sweet tooth. I promise you it's freedom. It is so you can still enjoy a beautiful piece of fruit that has incredible flavor, but when you stop eating sweet things, the craving goes away and you will be free and you won't be drawn back into the trap of starting to eat more carbs because we are going to be exposed to parasites in the future. And that's why we do, once we recover, we want to treat parasites at least once a year, depending on our symptoms, right? We listen to our body. And if we're feeling really high energy, really good gut health, strength, etc., no symptoms, maybe we can go a little longer. But if you've had chronic disease, it's usually a good idea to treat at least once a year. So we avoid all sweeteners so that we get rid of our sweet tooth. As far as fruit, we have a small serving of fruit about 30 minutes before our breakfast. That would be like a half a green apple or a very small kiwi. Also, berries, it would be like an eighth of a cup or maybe a quarter of a cup, but a very small amount. Like you'd be surprised, even a half a cup of blueberries has a lot of sugar in it. And these parasites don't care where the sugar comes from. They don't care if it comes from a cookie or if it comes from blueberries. Sugar is sugar to parasites. As far as eggs, we believe that they're incredibly nutritious. Of course, with your meat and your eggs, etc., if you can get organic, certified organic, that's better. Especially if you're in North America. I know that in Europe you should not have the GMO like we do, but if you can get organic, certified organic is better. If you can't, you can still recover. A lot of our students don't have access to certified organic or it's too costly. We do avoid all any type of fermented like yeast. So with respect to probiotics, if you want to take a probiotic pill that contains health promoting microbes, good bacteria, etc., you can do that, but make sure it doesn't contain prebiotics. And also, you want to make sure that it doesn't have yeast. So, we avoid all of the fermented foods like kimchi and kefirs. And the only one that seems to work well in the recovery, like in the diet part where we're getting ready to treat and we're treating parasites, is raw sauerkraut. And start with small amounts. Start with like a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon and work your way up slowly so that you make sure that you tolerate it. With respect to meats, so virtually any type of meat is fine to eat if it's not processed. That can be different types of fish. It can be chicken, it can be turkey, it can be pork and beef, etc. All of that is fine. Lamb, all of that is totally fine. But just be aware that there are certain fish that contain higher amounts of different toxins, and there are groups online where you can actually find out which of the fish are quite contaminated that should be avoided. I think what's a really good idea is to rotate if you're eating fish, to eat different types of fish. Also, to have chlorella tablets with your fish because chlorella is an amazing binder of metals and different toxins. So, if you take a bunch of tablets of chlorella with your meal, with your fish, chances are it's going to really help to bind those metals and toxins and take them out of your body so they don't get building up in your body. So the key with meat is just understand that things like ham and bacon, they're notorious for small amounts of sugar being added. Even when things are soaked in a brine, I would just eat just plain meat that humans have not altered. It's fine if it's ground turkey or ground chicken or ground beef. You can make your own sausages, delicious. You can add whatever flavors, really rely on the herbs and the spices. But again, with those, be really careful with the blends that you get because often they can have fillers in them, maltodextrin and other fillers that you want to avoid. And the very, very small amounts of a little bit of sugar here, there, honey, that can set off your neurological symptoms. The parasites don't need much. And so we've noticed this. Bone broth is another one I wanted to mention too, because bone broth is the rage. Everybody is is just drinking it. It's so healthy and the collagen in it, or taking collagen supplements. But certain parasites like Borrelia that cause Lyme disease thrive on collagen and bone broth. So we've had students that, they're almost symptom free. They've treated a few cycles. They're still treating, but they're just like pretty much symptom free. And then they make organic homemade bone broth and they start drinking it every day, and their symptoms start to come back. That means they haven't treated well enough, but also the bone broth feeds the parasites. So we avoid bone broth until we're well. And then if you've treated well enough, you can have bone broth and you won't notice that it's a problem. But it definitely can feed the parasites. Beverages, so water, drink filtered water. If you're going to have teas, they should not be decaffeinated. They should be naturally caffeine free. So if anything is decaffeinated, that means that the caffeine is reduced, but there is still caffeine, and that caffeine will stimulate the parasites. They produce more poisons. They make your immune system work harder. So you don't want to stimulate the parasites. As far as vinegars, we avoid all vinegars except for apple cider vinegar. I personally really like fresh lemon or fresh lime juice on my salad the best. As far as alcohol, we avoid all alcoholic drinks. Those are toxins that our liver, alcohol is a toxin that our liver has to break down. And a lot of these parasites are notorious for producing large amounts of alcohol anyhow. So our liver is working hard enough. We don't need to tax it any more than we are already. So avoid all alcohol, avoid all different types of pickles and um, salad dressings and olives that are in vinegar. Avoid soy sauce. And this is all in the prep phase and in the treatment phase when we're following the live disease-free diet, when we're getting ready to treat the parasites. So we do avoid coffee and teas that are decaffeinated or that have caffeine. And we also avoid sodas that have caffeine. So as far as a drink, a sparkling water with fresh lemon or fresh lime is my favorite. There are some there are different bubbly drinks like bubbly and LaCroix that you can purchase that are supposed to be natural. I don't know how natural they are, but there's also Sota, SOTA, which you can find in Canada at Costco, maybe in the US also. But that is more like different herbs, and it's a tea. It tastes delicious. So there's lots of different things that we can have that are enjoyable that we can have while we're visiting, whether it's a nice warm cup of tea. There's tons of different teas. Like one of my favorites is peppermint tea, and there's Sleepy Time from the company Celestial Seasoning. There's also a Tega organic, tastes like Earl Grey tea. There is lemon ginger tea. There are different rooibos teas. There's spearmint tea. There's a lot of different delicious teas. I do like the Tazo I think passion tea is really good too. And some of these teas are great hot or cold, so you can put them in the fridge. When you're treating, you can have Podarco tea, which is really nice, cold or warm. And that's more of an antimicrobial. It will kill or knock back fungi and possibly some other smaller parasites. So that kind of gives you an idea. Oh, and with respect to nuts and seeds, the nuts and seeds we would avoid would be peanuts in the recovery phase, but also pistachios. Be careful with cashews because people tend to overdo it with cashews also. But peanuts and pistachios are notorious for having mold, and we want to avoid that for sure. All right, and so we are avoiding all the grains. So we're not having any rice or pasta or quinoa or amaranth or corn, wheat, millet, oats, barley. We're avoiding all the grains because when we have a lot of parasites, we're not digesting the grains very well. But the parasites eat the grains that end up down in our intestines. So when we take them out of our diet, we notice like, whoa, after a few days, we can start to really feel a lot better. So that includes, not having different types of breads and pasta, etc. We avoid all fungal products like not molds, but different types of yeast, but moldy cheese. And a lot of these fungal mushrooms, etc., They're not going to give us a fungal infection, but if our body has fungal overgrowth and our immune system is really struggling, it can be sensitive to fungal components, and it could possibly benefit the fungi, that the fungal overgrowth that's growing in our body, because it's building blocks for fungi that we're eating. So we just avoid it to be on the safe side. And I think that's a really big part of the Live Disease Free diet, is that, and this detox for getting ready to treat parasites, is keep it really simple, right? As far as, just eat meats that are like natural, that have not been altered or processed. Eat vegetables that, if you're very disabled, it's fine to get chopped up vegetables. Just watch the quality, make sure they're not brown, or that the lettuce does not have a lot of like rotten lettuce in it, because that is bacteria, that is different microbes that can make you sick, E. coli, etc. So just make sure the quality is there. Simple, keep it simple. Use the herbs like rosemary and thyme and ginger and garlic and turmeric and basil, sage. You can use blends or make your own blends like herb Provence, taco seasoning for taco salad. So we'll talk about a few different dishes, but this can be a very flavorful, and if you do batch cooking where you cook a little bit ahead, like you double what you're cooking, you can have leftovers. So like we made a big pot of turkey soup that we had left over. So we have, turkey soup for lunches. We had turkey left over. We did a satay, which is like pork on skewers, like Indonesian herb curry spices. So we've had all that. We did a roast, so we had roast. We just cleaned that up last night. So there's just my husband and I now. Our kids are all grown. They're not in the house with us. So now we just cook extra with one meal. So we cook for like double or triple, and we do that like 3 times. And then all of a sudden you have enough food for the whole week, and you just kind of rotate different things. So I'll talk about some different types of ideas of what we eat, like what I eat for breakfast, lunch, and supper. And I would say that for breakfast, like I'm a creature of habit, and I think it's just, it's simple. So for breakfast, I really enjoy greens, even in the winter. And so what I'll do is, if I'm taking some greens out of the fridge and it's cold outside, we're in Canada, and I don't want to eat cold food, I will wash the greens with lukewarm water to just kind of bring them to room temperature, not to wilt them. Again, if you are dealing with inflammatory bowel disease, don't eat raw vegetables. You can even steam greens too, like that's like spinach, for example, arugula. Different greens can be steamed very easily. But I will have like a lot of greens, Greens, with breakfast, and I will just drizzle on the olive oil. I'll just zigzag the olive oil one way, zigzag it the other way. I don't even put lemon or lime for breakfast. I don't know why. I always have a couple of eggs. It could be boiled, it could be over easy, it could be scrambled with a little bit of onion and a tiny bit of pepper just for flavor, color. Green onions is really nice. Herbs, if you have herbs in the fridge, whether it's a little bit of parsley or it could be cilantro. Cilantro is just an amazing heavy metal detoxer, but of course, we're just having a little bit for flavor and color. And I'll have that, and that, because I've added a fair bit of olive oil, that will last me for several hours. So 2 eggs with a, a plate full of greens and the extra virgin olive oil. You might not be able to eat that many greens, but start with smaller amounts. You'll find that your appetite is going to start coming back. For lunch, I usually have a very big salad. So we will normally make a big salad, and that'll last us for 3 days or 4 days. After 4 days, it could start getting brown. But the big salad is just, put it on the plate. It's really quick and easy. And then, of course, I've added like cucumber and celery. And then to garnish, a little bit of peppers and or carrots, etc. If we do have avocado, it would be a slice or two cut up on the salad, very minimal. And so then I'll just take some protein from the fridge, whether it's the roast beef we have left over, I'll slice it thin and put that on the salad. Maybe there's some chicken, or maybe there was some turkey left over because we just had Christmas. Whatever animal protein is in the fridge, it could be taco meat from taco salads, any kind of meat. It could even be the Indonesian pork. You might want to warm that up a little bit. I prefer using a pan instead of the microwave just for slightly warming things up. But so again, the greens in the winter when it's really cold, I don't like really eating cold food, so then I'll rinse that before and just, so that it's more room temperature, and then you can warm up your meat. It can even be meatloaf. That's another really great one. So protein with a plate full of vegetables, lots of extra virgin olive oil, and then I will just drizzle on some fresh lemon or fresh lime. If you have any herbs, that can really add a lot of flavor, whether it's parsley, whether it's cilantro, whether it's basil. What I did is I freeze dried a whole bunch of different herbs this last year and the year before. Like in the fall when it's really fresh, you can freeze them too, and that is absolutely delicious to add to a salad. All right, so supper, this is where we will have, so tonight we'll probably have that Indonesian pork with a big salad, but last night or you can have different vegetables. So I usually will do a couple of cooked vegetables. So the beans are not too bad from Costco right now, and the cauliflower, I know the vegetables are getting really ridiculously expensive, but you can purchase frozen vegetables too. Just make sure you check which ones are in the bag, but if that's easier for you, if it's more economical or convenient, you can do oven roasted vegetables. You can stir fry them. We've stir fried them before too, but oven roast works really well. But usually it's a couple of cooked vegetables, and then if I'm still hungry, I will add a little bit more greens with it and some kind of animal protein. And what keeps us from getting bored is using different flavors. So, using the Italian herbs, using the curries we love, using the Mexican spices, just switching things up all the time, using thyme and rosemary. You can make a really nice stew with, beef stew and simmer it, and then add different vegetables that are lower carb and add herb Provence. I've even just made the herb Provence myself by just finding a recipe that had a lot of good 5 out of 5s and mixing the herbs together, so I know for sure that there's no maltodextrin or any filler. But sometimes you can find, like we were in Calgary, Alberta, and there's a little store that they mix all their own herbs and spices and they don't add any fillers or maltodextrin or anything. And they make it themselves, so then you can literally speak to the horse's mouth there. And they have all kinds of different, I can't remember the name of the company, but they have so many different types of blends of herbs. So that can really add a lot of, even adding some of those herb blends onto your beans with butter, completely different flavor. And so that's what keeps you from being bored. And at the start, this is a new journey and this is a new way of eating. So you might have to have a memory jogger in your kitchen. You write down what you like to eat. Yeah, we like taco salads. I'll just give you a few ideas here. So I said meatloaf is really nice. In our meatloaf, I don't even have a recipe. I just take like at least 2 pounds of hamburger, and I'll add at least 2 eggs to that. And then I will take like depending on which way I'm going, we really like some cloves. That's my dad used to make it that way. So salt and pepper, enough salt and pepper, and then cloves. Just be careful. Cloves are pretty strong, but ground cloves is really nice in a meatloaf. You can also add some bay leaf, like just crumble it really small in your hand and add that, and just chopped up onions and just mix that up and form that into a meatloaf, and that tastes really, really good. And then you've got things for lunch, you've got for meal for that supper. Also barbecued short ribs. So there's lots of dry rubs that you can get, these short short ribs from Costco, and they're about that wide, and they come in a styrofoam container and they're refrigerated, and you can put a dry rub on them and you can bake them slowly in the oven. And then when they're done, you can mix a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of lime juice. I can't remember if we put cilantro in it, but some red pepper flakes, and you just brush a little bit of that on. Of course, you bake them at low heat. You'll find recipes with lots of 5 out of 5s online. Bake them at low heat. You might want to finish them off on the Traeger or the barbecue just to brown them up a little bit. And then you can just take a brush and just brush a little bit of the olive oil with lemon juice and red pepper flakes. If you have kids, don't use too much red pepper flakes, but those are always a hit. And then just roast. Like I love thyme and rosemary. Those are my two favorite on roast, and salt and pepper. You can put onions on top or garlic, etc. That's fine. And on chicken also, like so good. Chicken on the Traeger is really, really good. If you have a Traeger and you cook your chickens on it, it really locks the moisture in, and you can put a dry rub on it. And if you put two chickens in the Traeger or in the oven, you will have chicken for multiple meals, right? And it's all for us, it's all about ease, like not spending hours and hours in the kitchen. Maybe down the road we'll have more time. I do like cooking, but there's just too many other things that we have to do right now. So we talked about the short ribs, roast steaks are great. They're expensive now. Maybe you need to marinate them so that you can get cheaper cuts. And chicken, what's really nice is even ground turkey. You can get that at Costco. You can make your own little turkey meatballs, which would be really good in soup, but also just in stews, etc. So again, rely on all of the different herbs and spices. I'm not a huge fan of pork. I'm not against it. I just don't like it. But if you don't taste it, like if you add enough different spices and herbs and it's not overcooked, then it can be very tasty. So like the pork satay that we made was really good. All right. So that gives you some different ideas on what we eat. Like taco salad is another one that's really popular. Hamburger soup is really popular, like where maybe it's the end of the week and you want to clean out your fridge. Like we just had the holidays and we have little bits of cauliflower and broccoli and all kinds of different vegetables, a couple of carrots here, some wilted celery there. Throw it all. It's like I will brown the hamburger and then I will add enough water to cover the hamburger and maybe a little bit more. Add salt and pepper, and if you want to add a bay leaf to that, and simmer that for at least half an hour. In another pot, I'm cooking up a lot of celery. Celery is very nice and low carb. I'm adding a little bit of carrot for color, not a ton, and onions. So first onions, and then adding in this, once that's sauteed a little bit, adding in the celery and the carrots, and then sauteing those vegetables. And when the hamburger has cooked in the water for at least a half an hour, I will add herbamare, herb, Herb, and then herb with an A, and then Mare, herbamare. So that's kind of like a seasoning salt that's very clean, but it tastes really good. That gives it more body. And then I'll just add those sauteed vegetables, and then I'll finish it off with some bok choy or su choy. Just be careful if you use regular cabbage, it's a lot higher in carbs. Don't use too much regular cabbage, but the bok choy and the su choy, they're not going to make your soup taste really sweet, and they'll just be easier for you when you're getting ready to treat parasites. So everything you like, what you put in your mouth, you don't want it to taste sweet, because whatever is going to taste sweet for you is going to taste sweet for the parasites. So very important. So you guys go ahead and type in your questions. Just a couple of things that always come up, like how do I maintain my weight if I'm really slim? Again, we talked about making sure we're getting enough calories. So we're increasing fat calories, and homemade mayonnaise is a really great way to bring in more calories that will keep our weight up, but it's fun food. It tastes good because you can make, a really nice vegetable dip. You can make a spicy mayo, and you can make, I should also mention chimichurri is another one. You can look up, we do Live Disease Free and chimichurri, and you'll find our recipe where you take olive oil and a little bit of lemon or lime, and and please also think about using the zest of lemons or limes or oranges, the zest of them in salad dressings or in sauces, or even on our vegetables, our Christmas vegetables. So we did broccoli. I'm going all over the place. Sorry, I'm just getting different ideas. So at Christmas, I was responsible to make mashed potatoes, which a lot of our family are not on the Live Disease Free diet, so they're still eating that. But I made oven roasted carrots, which I would only eat a little bit of, like a couple of pieces, but just olive oil and thyme and salt and pepper. And then we oven roasted cauliflower and oven roasted broccoli, and in olive oil and salt and pepper. And then at the end, we added zest of lemon, and that really made them taste good because I had to transport them. We took supper to my dad. He's in a care home and he's very, very sick. So we did family supper at the care home. But when you steam the vegetables and then you keep them a lid on, by the time you get to the place, they're like mush. But when you oven roast them, they kind of hold their texture. And when you add a little bit of zest of lemon or the zest of the lime, so the outside of the peel, it can really add a lot of flavor. So it kind of kills the strong cauliflower and broccoli flavors. You get the oven roasted with a little bit of citrus, and it was really good. And I did make cheese sauce for my other family members, but I did not eat it. It looks like glue. And I'm just like, I'm so past that. I do like cheese, but I'm just like, like you pick your things when you're in your 60s and you've recovered from chronic disease. It's like, no, I'm not going there. So, um, maintaining your weight is just eating enough calories and increasing the fat. Don't skip meals. If you miss a meal, if you skip snacks, you will lose weight. So even when you're satisfied and you're not hungry, you have to eat. What about protein shakes, whey, or smoothies? Are they okay on the diet? We avoid all shakes because when you grind up any kind of fruit or vegetables, you'll notice that it is pre-digesting the sugars, the natural sugars, and that makes your blood sugar go up, the level go up, and that will feed the parasites. It does not take much to feed them. And you'll notice that because if you get your carbs low enough and you're like, oh, wow, this is great. And then you have a little bit of too much carbs, which could be very minimal. And then you're like, oh my gosh, that feels awful. And I'm telling you that you'll see that it takes very little to activate the parasites. Once you treat them, you're not going to have those ups and downs, but we avoid all shakes and you chew your food. That's how you detox your brain. When you clench your teeth together, that helps to open up detox pathways in your brain. And those of us that have neurological diseases, we've got parasites in our brain. So, can I have decaffeinated coffee or tea? They will still contain small amounts of caffeine, so we would avoid that. We don't want to stimulate the parasites. We talked about vegan diet. So it just doesn't work with a live disease-free diet because you're not going to get enough food. You're just going to be living on low-carb vegetables and fat, and you will blow away in the wind. Like you won't get enough nutrition, enough complete amino acids or complete protein, I should say, all the essential amino acids. And that's why it's really important to incorporate a little bit of animal protein. All right. And so, can we fast while we're following the live disease free diet? We wouldn't fast because if you're eating low carb, it's so easy to lose weight. And then if you're not eating for long periods of time, you're going to lose a ton of weight and that you're not going to feel well. So once you're well, once you've treated the parasites, so like fasting doesn't get rid of parasites. Your body will maintain a specific blood sugar level that the parasites will stay alive on. So just because you're fasting, yes, maybe the parasites are not going to be as active then because you're not feeding them large amounts of food, but they're still there and they're still going to be active as soon as you have that big meal. So don't fast while you're following the live disease free diet, but once you're done, absolutely fine if you want to do that as a health promoting practice. Raw vegetables don't agree with me. I have inflammatory bowel disease. Again, cook the vegetables that agree with you. Avoid the ones that don't agree with you. Going to see over here if you guys have any questions. Um, can diet help yeast outbreaks on the skin? Absolutely. We've noticed psoriasis can really subside eczema. So, like things like eczema, watch out for dairy products and oranges. Those two will really aggravate the eczema for sure. So going low carb can help all kinds of skin outbreaks. And we used to think it was always candida, but now we're seeing that different types of parasites can cause skin issues. And so one person is saying, I've also used enema therapy for parasite cleansing and detoxing. Yes, but it depends on the type of enema that you're doing. If you're doing a coffee enema, the parasites don't let go. So we don't recommend coffee enemas. We recommend the oxidizing agent, which I can't talk about here, but you can go to Rumble or to livediseasefree.com. You can just do a Google search for treating parasites with oxygen therapies or I think there might be oxygen enemas for treating parasites, but just do a search for those kind of things and you'll find all of the information there. Hello in Australia, Karen. Um, do you take any vitamins for energy? You're always fatigued. So the poisons that the parasites produce are causing your fatigue. And it could also be that you're not getting enough sleep, because a lot of people that have parasites, they don't sleep well at night. They become sleep deprived. The parasites produce a lot of poisons. They interfere with our energy production, mitochondrial dysfunction you might have heard of. So literally, the diet is the first step. Make the parasites more quiet, and that will really help your energy. Can we stop brain volume loss? Absolutely. So the there's Dr. Amen is somebody who I really respect a lot. He knows a lot about the brain, and there's very specific practices that we can do. Our diet is huge for the brain, really, really huge for the brain. So this diet is very healthy for the brain. Again, it's not just for it's very helpful to get ready to do a parasite detox. It's the best diet for that, but it's also the best diet for longevity is keeping your sugars low. So, but it requires more. Like, skip the caffeine. It's not good for your brain. Eating the right way, exercising, doing activities that really stimulate your brain. All of those things will help. You can completely change your brain according to Dr. Amen. And can we have plant-based milk? We would avoid, so if you're a super healthy person, you don't have parasites, you could have plant-based milk, but if you are wanting to recover from any kind of autoimmune disease, any type of chronic disease, they're all caused by parasites. If that is your goal, then we would avoid all plant-based milks because they're a little bit too high in carbs and they're not super nutritious. So that's why we would avoid them until we've recovered. And then if you want to have a little bit, you can. But you'll find that um, once you really start to change things, you'll be like, oh, I don't really want to have that. It's not that great, and it's not really nutritious, and it's not really that healthy for me, and it doesn't taste that good. So in the recovery phase, we would definitely avoid them. So Justine, you want to experiment with soups for snacks. You like to use chicken, fish, beef, etc. to make broths. Would this be permissible or would this be bad as bone broth? I would be really careful with soups, like have them occasionally if you are improving, like if you're following the Live Disease-Free diet and it's just changing your life, you just feel so much better, that's fine. But be really careful with having broth, whether it's chicken, fish, every day. They use broths in labs remember when we get our throat culture done, maybe we have strep throat or tonsillitis, and they're trying to grow the bacteria to see what we have. They use broth to grow bacteria. So we know that that is a perfect food for different types of parasites. And so I would be careful with that. It's really what your goal is. If your goal is like, I am so sick of this, I want my life back. I want to see the most success I can have with diet. I would skip the bone broth for the first while and get a baseline of improvements. And then once you're feeling really well, occasionally have some soup. And I found that and it could be that the hamburger soup that I make, because you don't cook the broth for hours and hours and hours. You're literally cooking it for like half an hour to 45 minutes. It's not going to have as much collagen and whatever else is in bone broth. It's a little bit of a weaker bone broth. And that could be why that's tolerated a little bit better. But just be careful with the bone broth if you are trying to recover from chronic diseases caused by parasites. Missing meals spikes blood sugar. Well, what spikes blood sugar is when you're eating too much of certain foods that will spike the blood sugar. I don't think that missing meals. But if you miss a lot of meals and then you're trying to get enough calories in a short period of time, then that can spike, because even like brown rice or carrots, if you eat too much of it at one time, you could definitely spike your blood sugar. Okay, I'll just do one more Hello, Maurice. Last question. What types of seasoning? I think I answered that, Justine. I think you meant what types of seasoning. So the herbs, thyme, basil, rosemary, marjoram, oregano, all of those different herbs. Curries are really wonderful. Just be careful if you buy a blend that it does not contain maltodextrin or other fillers. What type of soup ingredients would be permissible on the diet? The low carb vegetables. So things like celery and things like some onions and celery, minimal carrots, more for color. The low carb vegetables like bok choy, su choy, the Chinese vegetables would be, you can add lots of those. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here because we've been going for over an hour. But I really hope that this, and we do have a blog post, make sure that you are on our list, because every week I do a live event and we have a newsletter, and all of my notes and the condensed video go on that newsletter. And it really helps you to get ready to treat and to be able to understand why you're sick and how to treat the parasites that are causing the disease you're dealing with. And that's on livediseasefree.com. Make sure that you're on our email list. Also, if you are new to all of this and you're like, what? Parasites are causing VMS, causing arthritis, causing diabetes, cancer? Are you serious? Yes, I'm absolutely serious. Watch my masterclass training, watch my videos. They're on YouTube, on the YouTube and Facebook, Live Disease Free, but also on Rumble. But our blog posts on our website, livediseasefree.com, are super educational. Share them with practitioners, share them with groups. Start talking about the research that I've shared with you. And when you're at that place where you're like, okay, Pam, I get it. I've changed my diet. I'm feeling a lot better. I want these parasites out. I believe that I do have them. And if you don't have a practitioner that can support you, then make sure to reach out. Watch my masterclass training to learn all the steps we take to recover. And then if you need help, if you need support, that's what we help people do in the Live Disease Free plan. It's a proven plan. It's helped thousands of people. We had just a couple of people join, and I just wanted to share before I go, like, I'm getting really smart people that are joining. So one of them, he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and he's like, the way that we treat multiple sclerosis, he said, it's like you have this city with a lot of crime. And so, like, that's like a person with diagnosed with MS, they have disease. And then in the city with a lot of crime, you've got all these police cars all over because there's so much crime all over. And the total stupidity of how we would treat MS is like, you just get rid of the cop cars, you just get rid of the police instead of supporting the police, instead of helping them with all the crime. And that's what we do with our immune system in treating MS, is like our immune system is overwhelmed with the parasites infestation. And instead of supporting the immune system, we just suppress it. We just take out our B cells, our T cells, etc. And I'm just like, wow, that is such a great analogy. And then another gentleman who joined, he's like, I've never taken the MS drugs because it just never made sense to me. It's like my immune system is fighting something and I need my immune system to protect me from infection. So instead of supporting my immune system, I'm going to suppress it. I'm going to wipe out immune cells that I need to protect me from infections. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, you guys are using common sense, right? And that's what we have to go back to, is common sense. So if you're at that place where you're like, this makes perfect sense to me, I am ready, I want this to be my best year, 2024, make sure to watch my masterclass training. And after that, you can book a time to chat with me. You can become a wellness champion. You can get ready to treat. You can literally be ready to treat in as little as 3 to 6 weeks. It's up to you. You can be ready in 3 weeks and start clearing them out. We will be following the Live Disease Free diet, but we'll be doing lots of other things to support the body. And then treat and it's a life-changing experience, and I would be honored to support you if you need help. So again, watch my videos. If you want to see the plan, watch my masterclass training, and then book a time to chat with me, and I'd be honored to support you. So with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I want to hear next week of your adventures of starting to change your diet. We have the Live Disease Free community on Facebook. Some of you don't like Facebook, but if you like it, you can go there. You can start to just chat and share what you're doing, how you're changing your diet, and the symptom improvements you're having. So if you find these videos helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next week, take care and bye-bye for now.